Hey everyone, Will here from Mature Minded Gamers, and today we're going to be talking to you about Pendulum from Stonemaier Games. This one is designed by Travis Jones with art by Robert Leask. Sorry if I said those names wrong, I do apologize. This one is a real-time worker placement game with some absolutely gorgeous art, some very interesting mechanics. I don't know if I'm going to like the real-time aspect because I'm not a big fan of those anyway, but let's take a look at this one, see how this worker placement game works. We'll be right back with our final thoughts. All right, so the first thing I want to talk to you about on this game is actually the board itself. This is the 1 to 3 player side. The other side is the 4 to 5 player. The main difference being is the number of positions on this central track. This is where you're going to be using your vote tokens to be able to determine your position. And depending on where you are on the track, you're going to be gaining different rewards. So this game doesn't really have a turn structure as you would normally, kind of know from other board games where each player is going to be taking an action, the next player's turn, so on and so forth. The game actually utilizes these sand timers. The sand timers actually have different amounts of sand in them. They actually run at different speeds, more like 45 seconds here. About 1.5 minutes and about 3 minutes on the purple timer here. The cool thing about that is the fact that with the different axes you take, you're going to be getting, these resources a lot quicker. These positions here you can do, the next quickest, and then finally the longest ones that, things that take the longest to complete is the position here. You're going to start off the game having 2 standard workers of your chosen color. You're going to pick different factions or different races vying for power of this city. So you have this race here, the bulk, the champion, and then the experience side of this one here. So let's kind of go over what these things are. You've got war, prestige, and prosperity. And you're going to be moving these little markers that the players have along these tracks. And this is more of your score at the end of the game. You also have this one here, which is like your honor, if you will. It's like a special action you need to complete during the game to even be able to be considered as a victor. You're going to place your workers here. All of the boards are going to say, kind of what you get to start. You get an elite worker and a standard. You start with 0 vote tokens. You have 2 of the war tokens, which are going to be represented by, again, the vote tokens are these starburst looking pieces. You've got red squares, cubes you're going to be using for war. You've got blue ones you're going to be using for prosperity, and then the yellow for gold. So when we're setting up for the first game with this character, we're going to be like that right here. Okay. You're also going to have a set of cards that correspond with the icon here on your player board. Noticing that, like on this side here, it's kind of like the hilt of a sword, and on this side here, it is the bull horns. So because there's actually 4 cards for each of those, so this is the elites or the experience side here. You're going to have different cards that you can use during the course of the game. And once you actually have played all your cards and they are in your discard pile, you can actually spend 2 of your victory points in the war to be able to, going back on the track to be able to pick those cards back up, use them again during the course of the game. There's a lot more going on also on the bottom. These correspond to different flag colors. You have your yellow flag, which you get from these positions. You get your blue flag, which you get from these positions. Your red flag you get from these positions, and then your brown flag you get from these positions here. So the game does come with a pile of tokens each. I've got them all separated actually. I've got 1 bag basically set up for each player. This one's the white player here. It's got 10 of the vote tokens. You've got 2 10-piece cardboard tokens, 10 of the yellow, 10 of the red, 10 of the blue. You've also got your little small discs for your victory. There's actually the 3 different colors, obviously 4 different colors corresponding to the victory track at the top of each player mat. One of the cool things about that is the different factions actually have different levels of value for what they need to make that for your victory conditions. So noticing on this one here, the Gambol, the Insurgent, doesn't start so far back in the red. It starts further back in the blue, but is the same level in the prosperity one, or influence. So excuse me, war in influence and prosperity. And you've got the different tracks there, and you'll be noticing they're completely different each way, which is pretty cool. And their starting values are all different as well. Now, the bottom here, as you hit these different flags, you're going to be able to just get those specific resources. So when I were to get my worker onto this flag, I'm going to be able to activate this and any cards that are corresponding underneath that position. And you can have up to 2 and when you reset, and we'll go over that in a minute, but you're going to be able to have up to 2 cards underneath that you actually get from these map tiles. Now, when you pick up and you secure one of these map tiles, by getting them from here, you've got to have 4 war. So you spend 4 resources from this pool. You have a worker here, and you're going to be able to grab one of these cards out of the tableau here. You're going to be able to take your card and decide, well, where is it going to go? Now, it's going to depend on which of the sides you pick. So, for example, this one's the brown, you've got the red, you've got the yellow and the blue. Well, let's say I wanted to position it like this. So I would slide it under my tableau here. And anytime I were to activate the yellow flag action, then I'm going to not only gain 2 of the money, but I'm also going to gain 1 of the influence here. So, which is actually pretty helpful. Okay. Now, if I had bought this card and slid it under the red, I'm actually going to gain 4 war, but I'm also going to gain a resource in the blue up here as far as like a victory point towards that. Now, there's some end-game conditions, like you have to be in this position to even be able to be a victor. But the player that has all of their markers in, the end circle up here, as well as their elite token as well, all of them across this line, if only one player has that, they're going to win. If the player doesn't have that, but someone else has this, and it's like that, for example, then this player would be considered the victor because they're the ones who have the ultimate goal, if you will, the glory, for standing and everything. So how actions actually work. So let's say I'm the orange player. So freely during the time, the game's going to start. All these markers are going to get turned for the very first round. You're going to be trying to turn it all at the same time. And what you're going to do is you're going to be placing your workers on non-spaces in these open gold brackets, okay, that do not have timers in them. So, for example, and you're going to be trying to go, kind of as quick as you can, deciding, hey, what's going to be important for me, and what's going to be able to help me secure victory, in my realm. So let's say I did this and, I noticed, oh man, this sand timer is out. So this one could get flipped at any time. So at any time anyone notices the sand timer has actually gone all the way down, this can get flipped. Okay. Now, why that's important is because then and only then, any characters, any of the player meeples that are on these positions, these can only be utilized when this sand marker is actually in their row. Okay. So then for no costs, I can move them down here, and I would immediately be able to use the yellow flag and any cards, any map tiles that are corresponding underneath. So I would gain 2 yellow cubes. So I had 2 at the start, and I would gain 2 more. Well, why that's important is because when this one finally runs and this one gets flipped by someone, then I can spend 2 gold to either get 2 yellow victory points, or I can spend 2 gold to get the red, which would maybe give me some war. So that's going to give me 4 war. So I would already start with 4, but I would actually gain 4 more. Now, the max resources you have of every single cube is 10. Again, each of these vote tokens is also 10. And you would just keep going. And then you'd be able to spend those resources again to be able to get map things here. You can spend prosperity to use different cards. And, like you have those cards that I showed you just a second ago. So let's say I had, these cards in my hand. Okay. I can spend the blue influence to gain red, or I can use red of the red war tokens to gain the blue ones, or vice versa, whatever I wanted to do to be able to do different actions. So, play's going to proceed until, this is going to move again. And then once once the line is clear, I can freely pick up from those. So then I can reposition him where I'd want to in the top rows. Maybe I wanted to go here. And then, finally, these are going to kind of go back and forth and players are going to be taking actions. And this is all in real time, mind you. Finally, when this purple one moves, we have these little tokens here, these little sand timer tokens, when that is going to actually get kicked off the space. And play is going to proceed. You're going to be accumulating these points. These things are going to be moving back and forth. You're noticing that the black one's going to be moving a lot faster because it's a 45-second timer. And then finally, when everything is done and this purple one is finally ready to go, it's going to go kick this one off. And then this is going to keep going back and forth, back and forth. These are going to be changed out constantly. People are going to be picking these up, going down in resources, going down in values. These are going to be picking up. And all the while, people are putting their pieces down, moving them, taking actions when the sand timer goes back down, taking their actions, not be able to pick them up again until it comes off, and then pick them up, put them back down. And then, while this player's doing this player does this action, this goes back up, then they can do their action, all the while this person's picking this up and maybe moving it up here. And, it's really fast and furious all until this finally runs out. Once all of the actions are complete in that regard, you're going to have a victory card that is up on the paper here. And for what's going to happen with this is this victory card is one of the other things that you can try to secure. And that is actually how you get your glory here. So your glory marker, that is the little gold or the little silver token, which is actually a pretty nice little metal component of the game. And on a two-player game, this kind of starts off on this, and then you actually can't secure this during the first round. But let's say it wasn't, maybe it wasn't the first round. To kind of give you an example, if at any time someone has these resources to use, or not to use, but even like in their tableau, they can actually put one of their little tokens on here. And this token is a little bit different. It is, let's say it was the orange player. It was these little like hex looking things here. They're going to put it down here. They're going to immediately gain the benefit. Plus they're going to pick up this token. They're going to secure it and hold it, and then that is when and only when they can take their gray cylinder and move it from here to there, which is pretty cool. All right, so that's one of the things you have to have completed to be able to win the game. Some of the other things you obviously want to get beside being able to pull the yellow flag, being able to get everything underneath, you would be able to gain with this action, you're going to be able to gain the voting tokens. If you ever have more than 10, that's when you use these cardboard things. So let's say I had 11, I would basically put the cardboard thing down with one of these on top saying I had 11. You can get up to above 20, so you have these. And you can even have more than that. They just talk about using some other kind of substitute to be able to take in its place. If you take this action, you get 1 cube of any color. This one, you're going to get a red victory point plus 2 vote tokens. You're going to gain 2 of the yellow victory conditions. Do the red flag, which again for this character is for war. This one's going to let you activate the blue, which for this character would be 3 war and 2 gold. And then this one, again, the brown token is going to be different for everybody. This person specifically here is going to be gaining 1 of the red victory conditions. Once the round is over and all the actions are finalized and everything for what players can finalize, because this salmon timer is eventually going to run out. No actions more can be taken. Then based on the number of the vote tokens that you have, so let's say I had 5 for orange and I only had 2 for blue. So orange is going to be moved up there. Blue is going to be here. So you are going to be able to be, you're going to be kind of like ranked based on how many of the vote tokens you have. Now, the important thing about this rank is there is a whole nother part to this with the kind of like the victory track, where you've got all these different cards that are going to be out here, and this is going to change every time because there's lots of cards in the game. And the player that gets to go first is going to, scored first in this track, is going to be able to pick which card they want, and the whole thing's going to be filled up with cards. And they're going to be able to buy these cards, if you will, so they can spend 2, or like this one, they'll actually get in their hand of 4 cards. This one's an instant effect. They would just, if they pick this card, would gain 5 of the blue cubes. This one here, they could take a worker and make it into like a flag. And then this one, you'd be able to use 2 vote tokens during their turn and basically use them, get a map tile. So these kind of like definitely change the game every time. Finally, when you run to the last of the sets, that's when one of the important cards to be able to buy is actually being able to buy for any 10 resources. Let's see if I can find it here. 10 of any cube resource to be able to actually get that legacy marker in your victory area. Be able to move that from here to here, which would be very important. The player, again, who has the most of the cubes on this side. So, like, if all players have everything on the right side, the player who has the most victory points would be the winner, as long as at least one player, because you have to have this to win. If nobody has this at all, it is the player that is the least furthest back. So let's say this character had their tokens, and I misplaced the tokens here. There's so many of them. So let's see what I got here. So we've got the blue. So let's say that was here, and that was here. And then we've got the red. Let's see, blue, yellow, and I'm looking for a red one. So here's a red. So let's say it was like this, and this is where this player was. But then the player with another board had one back here. Well, this player is definitely further back on the track, so the player that was like this would actually be the winner. That all makes sense. Great. Again, 1 to 5 players. Let's head back up, and we'll tell you our final thoughts. I am blown away with how this game works, how it plays, the mechanics. I think this is probably one of my favorite worker placement games I have played in a long time. This has kind of maybe even reinvigorated me to want to play some more worker placement games. It was a ton of fun. I was very excited. I wanted to play it again, and I wanted to play it again, and I did one. This is all I wanted to play the entire night. And I know we had some other games we got to, but this game was a blast. And if you and your group are into worker placement games, you've got to give this one a go. Even if you are not a fan of that real-time aspect, it wasn't really so much of I'm worried about what other people are doing. I'm worried about, am I going to have enough time to figure out before I just get completely decimated because I'm sitting there thinking through strategies. While that's there, it's not that difficult. There's not that many different things you've got to manage, enough that with the amount of time that you get, you can easily take care of it all. There is a variant where you can play with this little token that moves down, and you use the sand timers as representation of where things are. And it works. We played that actually our first playthrough, and it was great. It's enough, in fact, that we thought, man, we got this. We can play it. We'd use the sand timers for the full effect, and it was even better. That's when you first learn the game, do it the regular way without the actual timer itself and use that track. But after you get how the game works, the mechanics and everything, give it a go with the sand timers in full effect. You won't be disappointed. Component quality, absolutely amazing. It is Stonemaier Games after all. The insert, the quality of the cards, the artwork, just everything looks absolutely amazing. The rulebook is a little difficult to understand. For us anyway, it took us a couple read-throughs to kind of be like, oh, okay. And then we did a practice round. It was like, oh, okay. And then it started to flow as we kind of read through the rules and moved stuff around on the board. So take that for what it is. There are some amazing channels out there that do how to plays. Everybody I think has seen watch it played Rodney Smith, and give that one a shot, because we after playing it once, we watched that, picked up on the little nuances, and then that was awesome. So the one thing that I want to talk to you about that I wasn't too big of a fan on was really the theme. You could really paste it almost anything on this where somebody's vying for power into some big hierarchy, and you could have gone with that. For what it is, the game works. I think it matches the aesthetic pretty well and makes the game look beautiful. But the races just, they didn't really do anything. I guess the art kind of matched as far as like why they were doing, as far as like why their victory points were different levels. How the tracks were for different lengths and everything. I can kind of see that. But nothing really stood out. Like, oh, that's why they do that. And then, these races are good at this. They're awesome at that. There were some small minor things, but like, I think the people that could fly, that I can't remember their name, but they could get map tiles easier. It's just whatever. And the game, though, plays amazing. Top notch. Pick it up. If you like what you see here, please hit that like and subscribe button. We do video games, board games, and so much more. Be sure to check us out on maturemindedgamers.com. We'd love to even have you join us on our Discord. And until then, everyone, please stay safe, take care, and